Okay, let's talk about one more thing about your internal customer. I've got one more thing. There's a bunch more we're going to talk about, but this is one thing we're going to talk about. And one thing is, when we're talking about your internal customer, who is it that they want to be led by? Obviously, we're talking about our employees, right? And we know that we have to offer them something more than a job, right? The days of men and women working because they felt that they had a duty to, they're over, right? I heard people say it's so hard to find employees, and if you can find them, you can't find good ones. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. The problem is that we're not offering employees good enough reasons to be there, right? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but and I think there are good and bad things about it. But these current generations that we are currently working with and dealing with, they don't want just a job. They don't have interest in just working to work, which there's negatives to that, but here's the good thing to it, right? They're actually choosy about causes that they want to be part of, and leaders that they want to be led by. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? So when we're talking about our internal customer, one of the things that we have to identify is who is it and what would inspire them to actually do big things and be part of big things for their work, right? And far too often, I think what we do is we offer them a job and we try to put good hours on it and a comparable, benefits package. And we're going to pay them, somewhere in industry standard, which I'm going to get a whole nother series of videos on industry standard, because I hate the term industry standard. I think industry standard has become, again, I'm going to do a series of videos on this. I think industry standard has become code word for how we can all be mediocre together, right? Somebody's got to challenge industry standard from time to time. And one of the things you got to challenge it on is what you're paying your staff, right? So the reality of the matter is, if you look at the median income in 1985 and you look at the median income in 2025, and then you look at what especially the trades have increased, it is not equivalent. In that period of time, the median increase, you look at things like inflation, the trades have not increased at the rate of inflation or the median income. The trades especially have been badly battered by it. And I'm just going to call you out that are trades business owners. It's your fault. It's your fault, right? You have worked so hard to give your customer a good deal that you've ripped your employee off, and shame on you. Right? So what kind of leader do they want to be led by? Do they want to be led by somebody who's more interested in figuring out how to extract at a negative from them? Or do they want to be led by somebody who truly cares about, their life? And we all fail at these things and we all win at these things. My employees, I always get excited when I hear about them buying their homes, when I see their new vehicles. Like when I find out they buy a new car, I want to see it, right? I want to be part of that, right? When we had a guy that he was really into motorcycles. I'm not even into motorcycles. I want to see his motorcycles, right? That's just what it is, because that's us winning together. Right? So who do they want to be led by? Do they want to be led by somebody who's an inspirational leader, or somebody who's, just trying to make money, right? No, they want to be led by somebody who intends to change things for the positive. They want to be led by somebody who actually cares about them and their family and their well-being. And I'm just telling you, if you want good employees, you need to work on you. Right? Your internal customer needs to be led by people who actually care. When you hire managers, don't hire people that just punch numbers. Hire people that actually care about them and want to lead them to a better life. Right? One of the things you're going to need to understand if you want to serve your internal customer well is who it is that they want to be led by. That means you as an owner. That means who you recruit as a management staff, which, by the way, are internal customers too, who is leading them, right? So this all comes down, right? So as we build layers of leadership and management, which even the term management, we use the term management. I far more love the idea of coaching, right? And because this is, we're a team playing for success is what we're doing. We're a team playing for success. And so your internal customer, you gotta have the care for them. You gotta have the love for them for you to improve as a leader, right? To seek out what it is they want to be led by and grow in those areas yourself, and to encourage your leadership team, your management team to grow themselves in those same levels, right? But first you got to identify what that internal customer is going to need, and then you grow in those areas for their benefit so that you can serve them in the way that they need to be served. Then you'll find it is easier to recruit than it ever has been before, because they want to be led by you. Things like, one of my favorite things to do is to go to where people that I need to recruit are, right? You got to figure out where they are, right? And you figure out where they are, and you go to where they are and ask them if they're happy there. Now, especially when you're dealing with men, guys are rarely ever going to say, no, I hate it here. And the guys who do, you don't want them anyways. But they're going to kind of give you, yeah, it's okay, right? And so then you're going to ask follow-up questions, not for answers. See, here's the thing. You're not actually looking for an answer. You're inspiring as a leader. So you're going to ask them questions like, are they giving you good tools? Do you have good vehicles to work in? How's the office environment? Right? And don't ask all these questions at once. Ask one, maybe two of these qualifying questions. One of the things I've learned about interacting with people is ask qualifying questions. Ask qualifying questions. And qualifying questions aren't necessarily for answers. Qualifying questions are, as much as anything, to get the person to think in a way that maybe they hadn't thought before. So we're going to ask qualifying questions like, are you happy there? We're going to ask questions like, are you happy there? And then we're going to give qualifying questions to that. Are they taking good care of you? I remember one time as a plumber, I was working for a company, and I was paid purely on commission. That's all I got paid was commission. And they had me in a 360,000 mile Ford Econoline from like 1989 that broke down like every other week. It was hurting my family because they wouldn't invest the money to go buy another truck, right? It was hurting my family. Oh, and by the way, I was their top sales guy. And I'm driving, and all of us in the company were driving beater trucks because they wouldn't invest the money. And while the owner drove a brand new pickup and bought brand new houses and all that, and he has every right to do that. But what had he done? He had failed to grow as a leader, to lead and supply things that took care of his people so that they could succeed too. Right? So part of it is you have to grow as a leader, right? So identify your internal customer, your ideal internal customer, right? What that perfect internal customer is, and then become the kind of leader that they're going to want to be with. And you're going to find that it's a lot easier to lead them and to find them to come to you. I think of it, often I think of they say that Crazy Horse led his men against Custer. He was outnumbered and outgunned, right? Because they had Gatling guns and cannons and all that. Custer did. He was outnumbered and outgunned, and yet he led his men into battle with these words, "It's a good day to die." And that's the kind of thing that just rallies men, that he's willing to just get on his horse and go out against insurmountable odds. And that's how you rally men to where you beat insurmountable odds. I think of Chesty Puller, a very, very famous Marine, Chesty Puller. And one of his real famous situations, he was surrounded on all sides by the Japanese. They were almost out of ammunition, and his guys were just completely disheartened, ready to give up. And Chesty Puller stood up and rallied his guys by saying, "Man, this is great. We can get up in any direction we look. We can shoot them. We don't have to look for them. We don't have to search for them. They're everywhere. We can shoot them everywhere. It's great." And they won. If you want to rally people, if you want to find people to come to you and do great things, you've got to grow as a leader. Your internal customer needs you and to be a good leader and to recruit good leaders into your company. And that is something that you're going to have to achieve if you really want to grow a good team. That is about your internal customer. You got to focus on your internal customer.